Hello, welcome back to another live. My name is Laken, and I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to share some goal topic knowledge with you, as well as answer any questions that you have, as well as a bunch of other random updates that I've thrown into the lives this year. We're in a little bit of a different angle. Part of it is everything you can't see. Typically, I face where you can see my whole office behind me. It is a disaster. We have company coming actually very shortly. I will likely have to hop off a little bit sooner than I typically do, but we've got lots of stuff that you can't see. And so I got into this whole mood. I shifted the shelves over and I like the background. I like the angle. I understand the lighting is funky. It's very yellow. I even pulled out my ring light and turned it on the bluest setting, and it's still super, super yellow. So I'm going to figure it out. It is what it is this week. This is where we're at. I know that the backlit also probably doesn't help. I think the brightness is okay. I think it's just yellow. At least it is on my screen. Let me know if it's different for you. Those of you here live or the replay, does it feel super yellow? It's okay. If it does, that's what I see. I see super, super yellow. I'll make it work at some point. But that is what we're working with today. So let's kick it off with our first question, which is, what is one small win do you have to share from the last week? Although you're going to be able to see people walk by. That might be a little bit awkward. Maybe I need to get some curtains. We'll see. Anyways, what is your one small win from the last week? If you're here live, please say hello in the chat and let us know what your small win is. And if you are part of the replay fam, please let us know in the comments. While I wait for comments to pop up, I will share with you. My win is really focusing on what is getting done. It's a little bit of a spoiler. When we get to the goal check-in, I'll talk about it a little bit more. Sorry, just want to make sure my phone is there, so I can be available when our friends get here. I really did contemplate moving up the live an hour in order to be completely done by the time my friends got here. But I was like, you know what? We're just going to keep it at the same time and have to cut it likely a little bit short. Howdy, it is yellow, but you look adorable. Well, thank you, Adrienne. Okay, so it's yellow. It is what it is. It's I'll get it fixed. To be honest, y'all, the purpose of this call, or this live, it's not a call, is not necessarily to look at my face. That's not the value. The value of this is what I'm saying with my words and the questions and the topic. If I don't look my best, then I don't look my best. I managed to finish all the cookies. I love that. Posted a video for the first time in 4 months. Congrats. I can't speak. And purchase your goal planner. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. I hope it helps you. We've been doing a family-wide tidy up daily. Adrienne, I love that. All right. Any other wins? Come on. I see the people here live and no one's sharing their wins. I made my bed this morning. Such a win. I love that. I changed the sheets yesterday. It looks like you went artistic. I vote leave it. That's not typically my vibe. I'm typically more of a bright, airy, vibrant kind of. I think what I need to do is just swap out the light bulbs in my lamp. And if I think I got more of a natural color light bulb. And I think if I swap them for more of a bright white light bulb, it'll be better. Since now that they're directly on my face instead of supporting the natural light, you know what I mean? All right, let's jump into my reading goals and update you on those. So I didn't finish any books in the last week. And part of me, when I was getting prepared for this live today, was thinking, is that boring? Am I really going to update you on the same books that I'm reading every single week? But truthfully, I feel like that's the point, right? The point is that I'm not going to finish a book every week. My goal for the year is not 52, it's 20. So I am not going to finish a book every week, period. So it's going to be the same. What I decided to do, though, to make it a little bit more interesting is add the percentage of how far I'm at. So my nonfiction hard copy is still How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind. And according to Goodreads, I'm at 39%. When I look at the physical book, I feel like I'm closer to halfway, although hold on, my bookmark fell down, which, by the way, if you didn't know that I have bookmarks, I feel like I hold my cups up on these lives all the time, but I also have bookmarks. My bookmark looks closer to halfway. But when I put the page number in Goodreads this morning, it said 39%. So 39% of the way through that. Truthfully, I have fallen back a little bit on that book in the morning. Typically, I gave myself 10 minutes in my morning routine to read nonfiction, and I've been reading in my morning routine still. But I haven't been spending the whole 10 minutes. I have had this mindset also for one of my fiction books, one chapter a day. And the chapters in this book are very short. So I'm not making a ton of progress every day, but small progress is still progress. Then the opposite to that, if I had put the percentages last week, the audiobook I'm listening to is Unprotected, which is Billy Porter's autobiography. Obsessed, y'all. Obsessed. Like even if you're not a big theater fan, cannot recommend this book more. And I've been doing a lot of household stuff as well. So I've been listening to it a lot, but I've been very, very much into it. Hopefully I would expect that I'm going to be done with it next week. And then I am still chugging through A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I'm getting into it, y'all. Like it's getting there. I'm at 37% according to my Kindle. I have the same mindset where each night when I get in bed, I read one chapter at least. And some nights, depending on the length of the chapter or what time I got in bed or how I'm feeling, I will read more. But I have read at least one chapter a night, and I feel like I'm finally getting into it. I also finally feel like the comparison that y'all gave me about Beauty and the Beast makes sense. Like I get that. I get the vibes at the beginning. And I feel like I'm finally getting into it. And then the last update is still the Daily Stoic. The percent here, I feel like I have to clarify. It's not how far in the book I am. It's the percentage of days I've done so far in 2024. So the Daily Stoic is a daily read where it's 1 page per day. And I've read 81% of the days this year. My goal is to read 80%. If I read 80%, I get to count it in Goodreads. I'm at 81 because I missed a couple of days. And I was thinking about it because I know I teased this last week. My morning routine video is coming in a couple weeks. But I don't always, and I talk about this in that video. I don't always do my morning routines on the weekends. I don't like to pressure myself. If the weekend is like I'm in work mode or I'm in like focus mode, but if it's just relaxing, then I don't really want to do my morning routine. Now, it doesn't mean I can't read the Daily Stoic. I will just forget about it. And so I've been trying to think about like, where could I put it? Maybe that would be better. Like instead of it being in my morning routine little like basket thing in the living room, do I maybe put it in like in the bathroom? That sounds funny. Or by the coffee or something like that. So that I do read it on the weekends. Because not that I don't want to read this book on the weekends. I just don't want to do my whole routine. And if I don't do it at least one weekend day, I'm not going to hit 80% because 5 out of 7 is not 80%. So that's kind of one of the things I've been thinking about this last week is how I might try to incorporate this on the weekend. So if you have any thoughts, I would love them. All right, let me check the comments to see if there's anything else. A couple more wins. Organized new homeowners insurance. Love living in Florida where insurers are fleeing. Restarted tracking spending, finally set my April goals. I finished Iron Flame the other day, loved it, but so glad to have finished because it took me over a month to get through. My sister's reading it right now. It took me a really long time as well. It's worth it though. It's so good. And that is one of the biggest reasons why this year in 2024, I set a specific book goal list as opposed to a quantity of books. Because a lot of these books, I read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and now I'm reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. And those books are long. They are long books. And so I didn't want to say a number of books when I'm reading some really big, thick books. So just something for you to keep in mind. Okay, let's do the monthly goal check-in. So here is the photo that I snapped this morning of my goal planner. I always, sorry, I just saw this comment. Could you create a routinary AM routine just for the weekends? Brenda, I 1,000% could. And just keep it basic. I mean, I take my vitamins and drink my coffee anyways. Like some of the morning routine steps I do on the weekends. I just don't think about it that way. Like feed Charlie, right? Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you. Y'all are the best. Okay, so I took this picture this morning. Changes from last week. Monthly, I did work on the Chicago list. That wasn't originally the goal I had set for this week. The goal I had set for this week was to watch, or last week rather, the one-time step that I had set for last week in my calendar was to watch the air fryer video. But I've had a lot going on, and the month didn't start the way I kind of wanted it to. I talked about that on Instagram a little bit last week. And so I did the Chicago list because I could do it on the go. So I don't remember where I was, but I worked on it on my phone, like when I was somewhere else. So that one I was able to check off. The weekly stuff, I did not have the workout minutes and days checked off as of the live last week, but I did get to those. I worked out on Thursday. You can see that in the daily section. I am kind of going for the same rhythm this week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I think that's a good vibe for me. I feel like it fits. Monthly and weekly tasks. So that was the topic of last week's lives, where I went through all the monthly and weekly tasks, and like how they function, how I focus on them, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't get to them last week. Last week, I was just between the weather and just feeling a little bit behind. I had to prioritize, and those things didn't get prioritized. But you can see that I more than made up for it. Well, at least in the monthly section, I more than made up for it this week. And then weekly section, I've already gotten all 7 of them done. So I went ahead and checked them all off. Like I mentioned at the very beginning of the live, if you've just joined, I actually have company coming today, like they just landed. And so I needed to get those weekly things done. Daily steps. Workout is really more of a tracking kind of thing, right? I'm trying to do 3 days a week. So I just want to see what days I do as opposed to trying to do it every single day. Daily Instagram limit, it's hit or miss. I realize Mondays, I'm probably never going to stay within that limit because I spend so much time on Instagram doing the weekend recap. So I just need to be okay with that. So that's, it's not the worst. It's not the best. Photos have been going well. PM routine also going well. PM cutoff, better than the whole limit. And then weekly tasks, kind of the same thing that I already talked about. So that is my goal check-in. And hopefully it motivates you to keep checking with your goals, even though you can see there's zeros, there's dots, like there's places I didn't check it off, and I'm still making progress on my goals. Alrighty, let's move into the topic of the week, which is what? Oh, okay. I didn't move the little pop-ups. I have the like last ones. They're out of order, essentially. And so I was like, where did my little pop-ups go? So I get asked about this a lot. Talk about the different types of goal action steps. What do you mean when you say monthly, weekly, and daily? I get asked about this all the time. And if you're like, I understand what they mean, stick around. I'm hoping there's still going to be some value in the examples and the suggestions that I give. But this is one of those frequently asked questions that I'm like, I need to talk about this, even though in my head it feels simple or straightforward. But I've also been doing this for so many years, and I've been talking about it for so many years. And I think sometimes in general, not related to this specific topic, but a lot of topics, I can get really caught up in like the topic, needing to overcomplicate the topics I talk about, because either A, I've talked about it before, B, it feels simple to me, or C, I like it comes easily to me. And I'm like, why do I need to talk about that? Likely somebody is going to benefit from me talking about it. So that is why I've decided to make this a topic. Couple of reminders before we jump into the specifics about each one. You don't have to do all of these to achieve all of your goals. My goal planner, obviously, like I just showed you, has space for all of them, one time, weekly, and daily. Just because the space is there doesn't mean you need to use it. I'm going to say that again. Just because the space is there doesn't mean that you need to use it. So you can leave an entire one of these sections blank and still make progress on your goals. There have been months before that I've left entire sections blank just because of the way the month panned out for me. And I didn't want to have one of these things. That's okay. You also, not related, don't have to fill up every line. See that? Okay. So another thing to remember is that different goals lend themselves to different action steps. Maybe I should just freaking keep this up. You can see that some of my goals, like learning how to use my air fryer, will likely never have a weekly or daily task associated with them. But the other goals may or may not ever have a one-time task. Mine all happen to have one this month, but that's not always the case. Okay, let's talk about one-time steps. So these are steps that you're taking towards your goals that could be exactly once. So I'm going to schedule an appointment. I'm going to book a flight. I'm going to organize a closet. I understand that these can sometimes feel a lot like goals versus tasks. These can feel like tasks, like to-do list items. And I did a video years, I think at this point ago, about goals versus tasks. I'm going to link that here. If you're interested in rewatching that, I probably could benefit from redoing that video, if I'm being totally honest. It's okay if it feels that way. It is okay. There's going to be overlap, and all that matters is it makes sense to you in your head. It could one-time goals, one time in the one-time section could be more than once, but you want the whole summary and you're setting an overall goal. Like, I want to read 4 books. I want to do 12 monthly tasks. And if you're going to do it this way, I would recommend that you break it down in another section as well. For example, I have 12 monthly tasks in the monthly section and 2 monthly tasks per week in the weekly section. Now, if you're a math person and you quickly do that math, you're like, Laken, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't add up. It really would be, but it depends on how many weeks I'm going to count April. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to count the last week of April as April or May. Either way, if you watched last week's live, I have it broken down into 3 monthly tasks per 4 weeks per month. But my goal, my minimum is to do 2. That's the minimum. I would like to do 2. Now, last week I did 0, and this week I did 7. Now, part of that is I played catch up from last week, and I'm getting ahead for my trip that is at the end of the month. But my goal is to do 2 per week and 12 for the whole month. I feel like I should just leave this up here. This could be something that needs a further breakdown somewhere else. So sometimes the one-time steps is not a one-time step. What I mean by that is if you wouldn't put it in your planner or your calendar, then you need to break it down somewhere else. Planning a trip is a big step. Now, there are times that I will still put that in the one-time section. I did it last month. I didn't actually do that step, but I did put it in last month's. That likely needed to be broken down somewhere else. And that's probably why I felt a little bit overwhelmed by it. I finished a scrapbooking project, right? That should be et cetera, not EC. Clearly was in a rush this morning. Just because you put it there doesn't mean it is fully broken down. So keep that in mind. That's something we started doing in the goal setting sessions in the community is I have been giving you time. After we do the one-time step section, I've been giving you time to break them down further if you need to. All right, weekly. These could be things that actually only have to happen once a week. So cleaning, meal planning, etc. And that's kind of what my weekly tasks are. I've just grouped them up into 7. And once again, I'm going to keep recommending last week's video. That one, there's a reason that one was before this one. I didn't just start with all 7 in week 1, right? I built my way up to it. But weekly could be something that only has to happen once a week. It could be a further breakdown of the monthly. For example, we talked about 4 books a month could be the one-time step. 1 book a week could be the weekly step. This could be a summary of a daily item. Whether you want to do it daily or not, it could still be a summary. This is how I'm tackling working out, right? My goal is to work out 3 times per week. And so workout days is 3 times per week. I am tracking that in the daily section, but the weekly section is in total. I have said this before. I don't have this on a pop-up. If you are not putting it in the daily section, I would not recommend, actually in retrospect, what I was going to say is I would not recommend putting the number on one line. I would recommend making them separate lines. And when I'm looking at mine now, in retrospect, I would have put the monthly tasks on their own lines. Now, so far it hasn't mattered because I didn't do just one, but that is what I would typically recommend. Now, the twist on that is adding those little numbers, which is an idea I actually got from my sister. And seeing those little numbers, if I had done 1 last week, right, I still wouldn't have gotten the check mark, but I would have put a little 1 and I would have been able to see my progress. This could be the opposite, where you do want to do it daily and you know you want to do it daily. And so you're building your way up. None of mine are examples of this, but let's say you wanted to read every day, but right now you read 0. Going from 0 to every day is a lot. Now, you could do that. That is an option. Or you could put it in the weekly section and start with read 3 times per week, knowing very well that you want to work your way up too. 7 times per week, or even something different. But all right, daily items. So this could be, I want to remind you, daily does not equal habit. So there are times that the daily items are habits that you want to instill, or the daily item could be a temporary thing. It could be something that you just want to do daily for a set number, like a set number of months. It could be 1 month or it could be months. So if I'm looking at mine here, right? Like working out is something that is a habit that I would like to instill and keep going. PM routine, the same thing. The Instagram limits, kind of the same thing. The photos is temporary. I'm not going to be doing that forever. The photos are, I'm going to work on this until I'm through my photos. And then that's not something I want to do daily anymore. So this could be a further breakdown of the monthly or the weekly, right? Like I'm going to read daily to get to my 1 book a week, to get to my 4 books a month. I love when you have it in more than one section. If you're like, that feels really redundant for me to have it in all, no, it's not. It's not, because hear me out. Let's say you read 5 days last week, but you didn't finish 1 book. And your goal is 1 a week. You get to see those 5 check marks on the daily, even if you don't check off that weekly section because you didn't finish the book. Now, let's say next week you finish 2 books. So you're back on track. And at the end of the month, you still hit your 4, even though you missed a week of the weekly goal. You still get to check off the monthly goal. I am very much a supporter of having it in multiple places. This could also be you tracking to get the data, either to start or for information. So if you need to track like how much water you're drinking so that you can start a water goal the next month, sometimes when we have data needs, we can go back, right? So for the Instagram limits, for example, I can go back and look at my data and find how many minutes I was spending on Instagram and set a goal based on that. But if I didn't have that information, I would track it for a month to then have that information to set a goal. Or maybe I'm just curious. Maybe I just want to know. I'm not actually going to set a goal. It doesn't necessarily have to be an action, is the point of this one. Also, daily doesn't have to mean every day. We need to be comfortable that there's not going to be, the whole page is not going to be check marks. It's just not. And some of it is because we're going to miss days, but some of it is I'm not trying to do it every day, right? Going through mine again, working out, my goal is 3 times a week. I'm not trying to get 7 check marks per week. I'm trying to get 3. PM routine, I want to do that every day, but I know I'm going to miss days. The Instagram ones, again, every day. The photos and the weekly tasks, my goal is just Monday through Friday. Those are part of my morning routines. I would like to just do it Monday through Friday. I don't need to do it on the weekends. I will say, I was tempted to draw like to shade them in on the Saturday and Sunday. And the only reason I didn't is that if I wanted to do it on the weekends, then I was able to check it off. But I don't feel like I have to do it on the weekends, if that makes sense. Some reminders in terms of daily. Number 1, these all probably could have been their own pop-up. Start where you're at. Okay. Do not set a goal. Like, even if you know long-term, I want to be here. Long-term, I want to be drinking 4 cups of water. This is coffee, not water, but you know what I mean? I know photographers explained this to me before, but the coloring changes when I do that. And then it's like the color I want it to be. Long-term, I want to be my Instagram limit to be less. Well, I didn't immediately drop it down to that amount. I started where I was at and I just decreased it slightly. I would recommend the same thing with any of your goals. Start small and start where you're at. And I've said this a million times in my goals videos, but the reminder had to be part of this topic. My recommendation is that you do no more than 1 brand new habit per month. I'm just going to pause there because that is where we fall short, is we try to do all of them and then we do none of them well. So if you want more examples, I included like 1-ish example in each of these. Check out the series I did last year. I actually enlisted the help of the community and I asked them to submit their one-time weekly and daily tasks for 4 of the most popular goals. And I compiled them into videos. The link to the playlist is in the description box. Obviously, you don't have to watch all 4. You can watch just the one that makes sense for your goals, but it's got examples for one-time, weekly, and daily for all of these. And if this was not enough, this 15-ish minutes on this topic, let me know. Because when I originally came up with this idea with my content coach, content marketing manager, I don't know what to call her. I'm not sure what her title is, but we originally said, let's make it a series and we'll do one monthly, one weekly, one daily. And I was like, I don't know if we need that. I don't know if we need that in depth on each one. Again, goes back to me like thinking it can be more simple. So if you want me to deep dive into them more and actually maybe do one per week at some point, let me know and I will deep dive a little bit more. Okay. Any questions? On this topic? Yay, my first live. I'm a little bit late, but excited to be here. And this is Amy. Hubby doesn't YouTube. I would have made that assumption, but thank you for clarifying. After watching your videos, I decided for my daily habits, my goal is going to be 80% and still count it because realistically, there is never any habit I'm going to complete 100%. There really isn't. I've said this before, but except like breathe and drink water and hopefully sleep, there is very, very few things you are going to do every single day. It's just not going to happen. Any other questions on this topic? All right, let's move into Q&A time. What is on your mind? You can ask anything. It can be about your individual goals or struggles. I promise, even if you feel like it is specific to your life, it will be beneficial to somebody. The answer will be beneficial. It could be a topic you want to talk about. If you don't know how to phrase it into a topic, just put topic and whatever it is, or whatever's on your mind. It could be a clarification on something that I've talked about before. Yeah. Please deep dive. Okay, Amy, I would also recommend if you haven't watched those videos from last year, go and you have one of those goals, start there and then but I can still make a plan to deep dive. It just won't be like next week because this quarter's topic's already planned out. But thank you for sharing your feedback. Let me quickly answer this question, Adrian. Are the annual pages included in the Q2 planner? So when you say, do you mean the prep pages? Because the answer to that is no. The prep pages are separate. They're not included in the quarterly planner. There is an annual goal check-in that's part of the Q2 planner, but not the prep work pages. You can still buy those separately. That's a good question. All right. What else is on your mind? And I don't think we have anybody that's a guinea pig for this, but if your name, your first name is, or you're the name you prefer to go by is not the same as your YouTube name, please include your YouTube name in the comments or your name in the comments. Wow, y'all, I'm distracted. Have you done a live before about how you adapted after your daughter was born? I'm very nervous about the way things will change once I have a baby. You know, I haven't done this like exact topic. No. I can add it to my list. Here's my struggle with it. I first off feel like I'm still learning. I'm still adapting like literally every single day. And I also I don't know. I don't know what it is that's holding me back about that topic, but I will add it to my list and I will think about it. But no, I haven't. I have not. My short answer for you is to be kind to yourself and to like, it comes down to expectations. I feel like is where I struggled anyways. Great question, Samantha. How many goals is realistic? I'm doing Moxie Life, but also looking into HB90, and I'm not sure how many to focus on. So I did a video years ago that was called like, how many goals should I have? And first off, I know we don't like the word should. So I love the way you phrase this. How many goals is realistic? And unfortunately, I'm not going to just be able to like gift you an answer, like a number, but I can give you some things to think about. Moxie Life has a lot of pros. And if those pros work in your goal setting mindset and system, highly recommend. Their products are beautiful and their paper is magnificent. You have to be okay with the mindset that you either can't have a big goal in all 8 categories. And I know they teach this as well. You cannot have a big goal in all 8 areas of life. Like that's just not feasible. And the more you focus on all of them, the slower your progress is going to be. And that's fine. In HB90, she encourages you to have 3 goals. That's like her recommendation. And they're bigger, like bigger overarching goals for the quarter. There is no right answer. There's no right or wrong in that scenario. What I would encourage you to think about is a couple of things. One is the resources you have in your life. And I did a video. I feel like sometimes these lives are just like, I did a video on this XYZ, which also reminds me, y'all. I was revisiting some old videos. There's a video this quarter that I'm redoing because it was 3 years ago. I've learned a lot in 3 years. I can redo that topic and absolutely provide new value and new insight. If there is an old video of mine that I recommend and you go watch and you're like, can you update us on this? Like, can you update this? Because it's very possible that videos need updating. Just FYI. Okay. Resources. Everybody's resources are different. If you work of 9 to 5 that is contained in its 9 to 5-ness, and you don't have a partner and or children and or a parent that you're taking care of or something, another big commitment, you might find yourself with a lot of time to work on your goals, right? Time may not be your most limited resource. However, maybe energy is where you struggle. And you have a chronic illness. And so even though you do have that extra time, you don't have the energy. So you've got to be thoughtful about that. You've got to keep in mind your individual resources. And so that's like part 1. You got to think about your life when it comes to how many goals you can have. Number 2 is the more goals you have, the slower progress is going to be. And I give this visual within the community of you have progress blocks. Okay, so I want you to imagine that you have 32 progress blocks for the year. And I use 32 because it's just like maybe my visual is 24. Maybe it's 24. It's like really pretty numbers. So if you decide HB90 style, you're going to focus on 3 goals. You get to give 8 progress blocks per goal. That's a lot of progress. You're making a lot of progress. Now, you don't have to obviously split them up evenly. You can break them out into their various goals, but you get to make a lot of progress on 1 to 3 goals. If you decide to have 8 goals, Moxie Lifestyle, then you get to give on average, 3 progress blocks per goal. Your progress is going to be smaller. And that might be what you want. You might want small progress in lots of areas, or you might want big progress in less areas. And I ultimately think it comes down to, the more I talk about this, I think that video, the how many goals should you have video probably needs a revamp. It really comes down to your life and what is important to you, how many goals you want to make progress on, and your motivation style, right? If you're somebody who needs to see big, giant leaps of progress, then less goals is more realistic for you. I had a community member who used to pick 1 goal per month. That's how she set goals. She picked 1 goal per month that she really focused on, and she made huge progress in 1 month because that was her focus. I would struggle with that. I would get really bored and distracted, and I can function with small progress. So I would rather focus on more goals. So there's no one right answer. But I think this needs its own video where I can I do feel like I can give beneficial answers on the fly. I feel like after over 4 years of going live every single week, I have that skill. But I do think there is value in me taking the time to step back and think and make an outline. And I think this topic could benefit from that. Going back to the adapting after my daughter was born. Everyone is different, but it would be relatable to see how other people adjust. Leah said, I had my first 5 years ago and I'm still adapting. Personally, I think life is always adapting. You're always adapting to the different seasons of life, and parenthood just adds a different layer to that, but it's always changing, right? I mean, literally, her schedule changes all the freaking time. And so it's less frequent now, but it does feel like as soon as I feel like we have a schedule, she's like, okay, we're going to change it up a little bit. So my first is 12 insane, but now my husband and I are trying for another, and life is totally different. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for y'all and for your firstborn. I mean, I've said this to y'all before, and it happens to be National Sibling Day today, but I have 8 younger siblings. And ranging from my oldest sibling, I was 6 when he was born, and I have some faint memories of him as a baby. And obviously, we have a great relationship now because we're only 6 years apart. We're also similar and have a lot of similar interests, all the way down to my littlest brothers, where I was 17 when they were born. And so I obviously have a lot of wonderful memories from when they were little. So I'm very excited for your current baby to be a big sibling. I think I place too much personal value on my ability to be productive and contribute to my family. It's very hard for me to proactively slow down. And if anything tests this, it's pregnancy and then postpartum. I think the things and I know that I'm going to say things here, Brittany, you've already had a child, but I'm going to say things that you've heard. And I think I may have also rolled my eyes a little bit when I was pregnant and then postpartum. But number one, your productivity is growing a human and then healing from growing and birthing that human. Like, that is your productivity. And it's so frustrating because you're like, I know, but like, also I need to do laundry. But like, do you? Right? Somebody needs to do the laundry. Does it have to be you? I think like I said, I think it really comes down to expectations. And I think it comes down to prioritizing. Like, what is important that gets done? Does it have to be you? Can somebody else do it? And asking for help. Man, y'all, I think that was one of my biggest struggles at the beginning too, was not even like the other productive things that I needed to do. It was actually asking for help with the baby. And like, from even Sam, like, and you didn't need to do all, like, I'm not going to go into all the details because there is a balance. I am trying to balance this little line of like what I'm sharing that's mine and what is our parenting decisions that I'm not sharing. But like, asking for help. And the irony is, I think I learned a lot and I think I've gotten so much better about it, that I'm like, okay, I'm not ready for baby number 2 yet. But like, when we get there, like, I'm going to do better. But then we're also going to have a little toddler running around that's going to need attention as well. So I feel like I'm going to be better, and then it's going to be harder. So, yeah, those are just some reminders. It probably would have been more beneficial for me to talk about this like 6 months ago when it was a little bit more fresh, or at least write things down that were in my mind. But I'm excited for him too. He's a bit whatever about it because he's a 12-year-old boy. That's fair. Hopefully it feels a little bit different once the baby is here, but I can imagine a 12-year-old boy is like, whatever. Even I remember like my like brothers, when the next ones came along, like they didn't care. That's true. Boys, it's different than a girl. I vividly remember when my sister was born. She's 9 years younger than me, and she was just my little live baby doll. And I got to just like have a baby doll that I actually got to take care of. It was the best. Any other questions? What else is on your mind? Samantha, I want to add something to this question. I use HB90 for work only, and I use my goal planner for personal goals. If you are, I don't know that it would be beneficial, let me phrase it that way, to do both for the same goals. I think I've said this before, if you're going to use a goal setting system, go all in on that system and try not to like, I'm going to use this and this and this and this. I think it just adds more complication, and then you're spending more time planning and overcomplicating it than actually making progress on your goals. And so if you're going to pivot to the HB90, I would pivot fully, or if you're going to stick with Moxie Life, I would stay and stick and focus on it. That's my suggestion there. What else? Guys, I'm getting like giddy in my tummy. My friends that are coming to visit, it's my best friend from college, and we met almost 15 years ago. Not crazy. And we were roommates sophomore year, and she and her husband moved to New York, and we had, I guess, 2.5 years. They were in LA right after college, and I guess we had 2.5 years together in New York. The four of us hung out so much. And then we left, and we both got pregnant, and now they have a baby a month older than Lila. And I'm excited to meet her baby. I'm excited for them to meet Lila. I'm excited for the babies to meet each other. I'm just like giddy excited about it. Oh, Brittany, that's a good question. How to mentally let go of goals that just aren't feasible for this season of your life. So I'm going to start by directing you towards a video for after this live that is about quitting goals. And it may not make sense if you're like, I didn't start. There are things in that video that can still help you with this exact question. And that one is more recent. And I also always remind y'all that even if you're like, well, I watched that video when it went live, your life is different and your goals are probably different. And I want you to rewatch it with your current goals in mind. So, but what I will answer for you here is ask yourself, why is it something that you're even considering? Is it because somebody else is doing it? Are you comparing it to somebody else? Is it because somebody else is doing it in this age that you're doing it? Because we have this conversation all the time with like purchasing property, like a house. And I'm like, first off, I don't have that bug. Like, my husband has that bug. I don't have that bug of like, I really want to own property. I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't have that bone. But it's not that it's not feasible. It just doesn't necessarily make sense given our location and our financial goals and our family situation, and our blah, 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 all the things, the freaking interest rates. So where is it coming from? Like, is it because there are other people who are younger than us that own property? Is it because our parents had property at this point in their lives? Is it like, where is it coming from that I would even like think about it being a goal? And if it's anything related to anybody else, goodbye. Like, that is not a good enough reason for me. Now it's taken me years to be comfortable with that, for it to be on my list. No, if you're like, okay, but that's not it. Like, I actually want it, but I can't do it right now. Ask yourself, what is feasible for this? Why is it not feasible? And is it one of two things? Is it that it will be at some point? And if it is just like when the kids go back to school, and I'm not here for living our lives for the like when. It's more of, I'm saying this from a standpoint of like a when, like WHEN, a when that is like actually going to happen. Just if that makes sense. Like, I don't want you to live in a life that's like, well, I'm going to be happy when I quit my job. I'm going to be happy when I get married. Like, no. But if it is, I just heard my mom like drop something loud. If it is like I will be able to do this when this thing happens, that will for sure happen, like it's a timeline thing, then it's there. You know it's coming. And just keep reminding yourself of that. Like, it will be there. Now, if it is a unforeseeable future, like, you can't do it right now, but you don't know when you're going to be able to, get really, really clear on what needs to happen for you to get there. And can you start making progress on it? Even if it doesn't make any sense. Not that it doesn't make any sense. Even if it doesn't seem exact, if that makes sense. Even if it doesn't seem like this is exactly, I just thought of another video that would be beneficial for this. And it's called How to Navigate Goals Through Life Changes. And maybe you're like, it's not a life change that you're going through that's causing this, but there are things in that video that also would be helpful. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, let's do the example of, I want to quit my job and I don't want to work at this job anymore. But that's not feasible for this season of life because you need that income. Okay, well then what are the steps I need to take to get me there? What are the things I need to do, the small steps I need to take so I can start moving my way towards there? And maybe it's something totally what it like might feel like an opposite, where it's like, well, I really need to have a really good cleaning routine so that my house isn't a stress when I want to focus on making extra money, something like if that makes sense. I can come up with better examples if you want to share specifics with me. And if you're not comfortable sharing here, you can join the community and send me a text. You can also send me an Instagram DM. I just do not promise as quick or as I respond to Instagram DMs. I'm just not as, it's not the same zone I'm typically in when I respond to the community members. My point is, either you're letting it go because it's somebody else's comparison, in which case it doesn't deserve any more space in your brain. You're letting it go because there's a timeline that's going to change at some point. Keep reminding yourself of that. That timeline will come. Or you're letting it go because you do want it, but you know you can't do it right now. What is a small goal you could work on to get you a little bit closer to it? There's the summary. Boom. All right, y'all. I am going to sign off so that I can be here when they get here. So I am going to ask you my last question, which is, what is one thing you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? What is the one small step that you can take to continue to make progress on your goals? Mine is just going to enjoy time with my friends. And then my dad actually is coming this weekend too. Chaos. He doesn't stay with us, so that's not as chaotic, but that is my one thing. If you are here live, let me know your one thing in the chat. And if you are catching the replay, let us know your one thing down in the comments. Let us hold you accountable to that one thing. Go to the gym. I love it. Once. Just kickstart that momentum, a key. And it doesn't have to be for hours. I think sometimes going to the gym, you can have this mindset of like, well, I have to make it worth it. And I have to like be there forever. Like, you know, one episode, friends. Prioritize reading. I love it. Come on. Where everybody else's one-time things. All right. Come back and add it to the comments. I would appreciate it. Fill in my April tracking sheet. Love it. All right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Apologize for cutting it a little bit short, but I'm here every week. If you have questions, if you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out and clicking that subscribe button, and I will see y'all next week. Have a good day.